God puts us in nations, in places, not by mistake, but to do a job. What if we opened our eyes to the needs of our colleagues, of our leaders, of our subordinates, and we were a priest on their behalf?
My name is Brett Johnson.
I'm Lynn Johnson.
And we'd like to welcome you to the Repurposing Business podcast that will be coming to you each week.
Welcome to Season 6, How to Work Like God in 31 Ways.
Welcome to the Repurposing Business podcast. We're on day 16 of Work Like God in 31 Ways. God's work is intentional, so work intentionally. I remember one of the most difficult things about being in the South African Army was looking like I was busy. What had happened is after I completed my basic service, which was 1 year of compulsory military training, after that we had to go in every year, sometimes for 3 months, sometimes for a month. Eventually, I managed to get myself transferred to the finance corps, which meant that we would do quote-unquote audits, which were nothing like the audits we did at Price Waterhouse, but going from a location to a location, checking things out. And really, you could get all of the work done in a couple of hours a day. And so I remained active in my work with my clients at Price Waterhouse while I was doing my military service for a month a year and getting paid minimum wage, of course. But staying looking busy was hard work. And this is the opposite of God's work, because busy work can be soul-destroying. It can be crushing to people, just giving people stuff to do for the sake of doing it. You'll find with prisoners, in the old days, they would crush rocks, they would do meaningless things. Nowadays, in some enlightened prisons, they actually do some stuff that's a bit more productive. But unintentional work that has no particular meaning, that goes nowhere, is the antithesis of God's work. So God created us to work. He created us to work deliberately towards particular things that make sense. Now you might think, well, that's really bad if somebody's crushing rocks in a penal colony, but I work at a corporate or I run my own business. It's still possible to have a career and to look back and say, what was that all about? Was I doing anything meaningful? And so what we have to do by way of principle is find the intersection between the way that we have been wired, the gifts that we have, the abilities that we have, and the biggest need in the world that God cares about, and then intentionally work at that intersection. So by way of illustration, one of my friends, Steve Yencho, is an inventor, super smart guy, and he had an undergrad degree, then went and eventually got a PhD from Stanford University in material sciences, and sought to tackle problems in the world that he could using his skill set. Now, it wasn't easy. He had to do a lot of work. He had to do a lot of research. One of his first companies, they developed a medical device to splice together tendons. Now, all of the research said it couldn't be done, but they actually were able to do it. And then he went off to the second biggest, or one of the biggest killers in the US, and it's the complications from open heart surgery, the clotting, the strokes, the fatalities that come after that. And how could he invent a device with his team that would enable one to do heart bypass surgery without stopping the heart, without opening up the chest? So that was the next thing. Next, he developed a device to purify water so that people in remote areas could have access to clean water. And he went on to do another invention, which was fracking without using chemicals, so without causing harm to the environment from the chemicals. So he went from one industry to the other, and his principle was always, what's my gifting? What do I have in my hands? And where does my gift intersect with one of the biggest needs in the world? And then at that intersection, intentionally build a product, a service, or a business. God's work is intentional. Be intentional in your work. Don't just fill the time. Don't even do good stuff. Do stuff that's actually excellent. that is consistent with what God is doing in the world. And you can do that through everyday products and services. You don't have to preach and play a guitar and be a missionary to do this. You can accomplish this through your own products and services if you're intentional about it. So work intentionally.